Today you have to bear with my voice in my throat. I was going to text you 3 minutes ago. So I said, where are you? Okay, here. Yeah. Ayeka. Baruch Hashem. Okay, today, Bezrat Hashem, we're planning to finish the perek. Is this working? It's on. Yep. Good morning, Morai Rabotai. We're continuing on Masechet Berachot, and we're holding on Daf Chaf Hey Amud Bet, the bottom of the Amud of 25b. The learnings of Amud Yomi for Chodesh Elul have been sponsored by Dr. Aaron and Shazlin Kahen for the health, happiness, and success of their children, and the Ilui Nishmat, Dr. Nisan ben Moshe HaKohen Alav Shalom, that his neshama should have an Aliyah Amen, also has been sponsored by Justin and Sarah Rabbi for the health and prosperity of Sarah Rahel but Nora, and also Ezra Hayim ben Devorah that should have a complete recovery of Amen. The learnings of the entire Chodesh Elul of the entire KBT has been dedicated by Dr. and Mrs. Shea for the health, happiness, and prosperity of their entire family. Should have a lot of nachat from their children and much yeshuot v'rachamot. Amen. Amen. We are at the bottom of the Amud. And we started a sugya of whether or not is mutartav tashmisha mita when there is a Sefer Torah in the house, which means there perhaps is a difference between having a Sefer Torah and having a regular tefillin or a sefer, right? That is really the core of it. We have discussed already before that by a tefillin, perhaps you just put it in a double cover, and that's good enough. You're good to go with a double cover. How about a Sefer Torah? So the Gemara starts this with a story that we started yesterday. And this is 4 lines up from the bottom. It says, the Kamishon Belazar, Rab Achai, Rab Achai made a shidduch for his son, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel, with the daughter of Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel, bar Marta. They went to the chuppah. They were not successful, and he went to check the room. Maybe there is a reason Siyata Dishmaya is not there. And sure enough, Chaza Sefer Torah, the mancha. He saw a Sefer Torah in the room. I was very disappointed, very disheartened. He comes out, he says, wait. He says, if I wouldn't have gone and I wouldn't have checked, you would have put my son in danger, which suggests that this is not just the Isur, but this is an inyan of sakana. What's the difference if it's Asur because of a Isur, or is it Asur because of a sakana? Normally speaking, we say we have all kinds of different leniencies when it comes to Isurim. When it comes to Yoredea, is it Basar v'chalav? Is it fat that's Asur? It's not. You have sometimes leniency, especially if it's a Darabanan, it's not the Isur Doraita. You always have leniencies and a combination of leniencies and so on and so forth. But when it comes to Sakana, the Gemara has a very well-known concept called Chamira Sakanta Misura. That means Sakana is even more Chamur than Isurim.
Even though it's the Rabbanan.
Even if it would be the Rabbanan. Because again, Sakana has no limit of the Rabbanan, not the Rabbanan. There's a Taz that says, and the Shulchan Aruch in Orachayim Kuftet Zayin, the Shulchan Aruch says that it's sakana to eat meat and fish together. And therefore you have to wash your mouth and eat something and drink something and wash your hands and all of that. The minhag of the Hasidim to have schnapps after fish comes from there. They have to drink something, they eat a little bread afterwards and so on, and they wash their hands because it's sakana. And the Taz says there that you don't go after the concept of batel b'shishim, of having something nullified in 1 in 60, because sakana is more chamur than isurim. You find this also by the Gemara in Baba Metzia says in Daf Kuf Aleph that the mezuzah is very important because it takes away the sakana from the house. When you put on the mezuzah on your doorposts, the mazikim, the negative powers, are not allowed to enter that domain that has mezuzah in, hence the importance of mezuzah. So therefore, you see here is introduced to us that the disrespect of that caliber to the Sefer Torah is considered a sakana. So says the Gemara, the Tanya, we learned in the Braita Bayit sheyesh bo 2 lines up. Sefer Torah, a house, a room that you have Sefer Torah in it. O tefillin asur shamesh bo et hamita. It's asur for tashmish hamita. Ad sheyotziem o sheyanichem keli betoch keli. Until you take it out or you put it a vessel inside a vessel. Kli toch keli. And as we mentioned, Abaye says, Lo shanu ela bekeli she'enu kidyan. It's only if one of those vessels are not miyuchad, are not designated and designed for the Sefer Torah or for the tefillin. Both of them are designed for the tefillin or for the davar shebikdusha, for the Sefer Torah. Even if you have 10 of them, even if you have 100 of them, the Gemara says, "Aval bekeli she'u kilyan." If it's kli, its cover, it is miyuchad and designated and designed for it. Then afilu asara mani kechad maradami. Even if you have 10, they're only counted as one. Rashi explains that the Rishonim bring out as well that this is because there is a certain level of nullification of bitul in this. That if you have a kli that is miyuchad made for this item, it is nullified to this item because it's part and parcel of it. Therefore, even if you have two, for instance, a good example of it would be you have the nice fancy filling covers right there, demonstrated very nicely, right? And you don't want the fancy garments to get dirty and destroyed, so you have a plastic cover. So is that considered keli betoch keli? Would you be able to have that in the room? No, because the Gemara says keli betoch keli. If both of them are designated for that, it's considered one keli. So therefore, you need another kli on top of that. Says the Gemara. Amar Rava. Rava says, Gelima akametra. If you have a garment on top of a surface, on top of a box, Rashi says argaz shel sfarim. It was a box that they used to keep sfarim inside of it. Now, on top of that, you have the tefillin or sefer, and you want to cover the argaz of sfarim. You have the box, and on top of it, you want to put a blanket. So can you say that, well, I have the argaz, and I have a cover on top of it? Rava says, yes. What's the chidush? Some Rishonim learn the chidush is because here you don't have the bottom cover. Imagine if this is one cover, and then I put another cover on top of it. Now, this second cover is not covering the bottom. So according to some Rishonim, this is the chidush of the Gemara, that you don't have to have two wraps. As long as in surface level for your eyes, the two covers are there, even though that one of them is just covering the surface on top, that is sufficient. Tosfot Arit says a little bit differently. Tosfot Arit is Rabbi Shaya, the Terani Harishon. He says that actually is wrapped in a blanket and then put in the box. So according to him, you don't have this chidush of Rava, but nevertheless, halachically speaking, that would be sufficient. That if you have a box, which is considered one cover, and you put a cover on top of the box, even though that the bottom of the box is not covered with the second layer, it's still considered two covers. Okay, kechli toch keli dami. That's also considered kli toch keli. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, Sefer Torah sarich la'asod lo mechitza asaras. He says no. By Sefer Torah, it's not sufficient to have two covers of keli b'toch keli. You need to have a mechitza shel asara. You have to have a divider of at least asarat fachim high. What does that do, by the way? What that does is in every sugya in Shas, mechitza shel asara is kovea makom bifnei atzmo. It creates a new domain. If you have a mechitza around something, that something is in its own mechitza. Imagine you go in Chot Shabbat or Eruvin, you go in the middle of the Reshut HaRabim, right? In Times Square, you go and bring this mechitza and you make it round, attach the two pieces together, now you have a mechitza. In the middle of the mechitza is considered Reshut HaYachid. You just created a new domain. So therefore, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, you cannot be in the same domain with the Sefer Torah for Tashmish Hamita. Can't be. It's disrespectful to the Torah, even if you've covered it a double cover. That's the Shita of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Says the Gemara. Sefer Torah sarech la'asod lo mechitza asara. Murzutra ikra lebe Rav Ashi. Gemara brings a story that Murzutra went to the house of Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi was the head of the yeshiva. He was the author of Talmud Bavli, main author, together with Ravina, of course, but he was the Hacham of the generation. So says the Gemara, Murzutra goes and sees in the room that they had designated for the son of Rav Ashi and his wife, Mor bar Rav Ashi, which is mentioned many times in Shas. Chazia leduchte, the Mor bar Rav Ashi, sees the place, the room, the house, within the house that was designated for Mor bar Rav Ashi, the son of Rav Ashi, the Manach Sefer Torah. That there was a Sefer Torah sitting in the room, and he had made a mechitza of asarat fachim around the Sefer Torah. Fine, so of course he looks at that. He knows why he did it, right? He realizes that this is because of Tashmish Abita. So says Mor Zutra to Rav Ashi. He says to the father, he says, wait, come on, Rabbi Yishua ben Levi. You did this because of the Shita of Rabbi Yishua ben Levi, that you want to be machmir, you want to be stringent and make a new domain for the Sefer Torah. Emor da Amar Rabbi Yishua ben Levi, the letle beta acharina. Only Rabbi Yishua ben Levi only held that leniency that you could do it when you have no other room. But if you have another room, Baruch Hashem, you're a rich man, you're the Nasi of the generation, you have a massive house, you have other rooms here, I see. Who said that you could rely on Rabbi Yishua ben Levi? Who said that Rabbi Yishua ben Levi even meant it? That you could put it in the same room if you have other rooms. Rabbi Yishua ben Levi basically is telling you, if you have no other room, you could make a room within a room with a mechitza shel asara. But if you have another room, to have a Sefer Torah sitting there just because you have a mechitza shel asara, lo na'im, he never meant that. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Ashi answered him, he said, la vadatai, amale, la vadatai, I did not pay attention. Which either means, according to some Rishonim, means that, well, I didn't know this, or it means that I didn't know, or according to some Mefarshim, it means I don't hold of that, right? Which halachically speaking, it becomes a question whether or not, when you have other options, it becomes mutar or not. Says the Gemara. Back to our main sugya of meraglayim and tzoah. Says the Gemara, kama yarchik mehem uminat tzoah arba'amot. How much do you have to distance yourself from urine or from excrement, from tzoah or meraglayim? And we learned that it has to be at least 6 feet, at least arba'amot. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava, Amar Rav Schora, Amar Rav Huna. Rava said in the name of Rav Schora, in the name of Rav Huna, we mentioned before that whenever the Gemara says Amar Peloni, that language means that they heard it directly from them. And usually, right, the Yad Malachi, the Kladei Hashas, that usually in those cases, the person that is quoting his teacher is a Talmid of a Rebbe. In other words, in our example over here, Rava would be a student of Rav Schora in that case. But it's a direct quote. When it's an indirect quote, usually the Gemara says, Amar Peloni Mishum Peloni. When let's say, if I hear you say it in his name, I would not say Amar Peloni. I would say Amar Peloni Mishum Peloni. So here is direct quote that Rava says in the name of Rav Schora, who said directly in the name of Rav Huna, Lo shanu ela la'achorav. That is only if the meraglayim is behind you. If the tzoah is behind you. In other words, if I am facing you and behind there is a meraglayim on the floor or a tzoah on the floor, so long as it doesn't smell, and I am 4 amot away from it, so hence it is not in my machane, it's not in my immediate surrounding, then it's mutar. But what if it's in front of me? I see tzoah sitting there now 10 feet away, right? But I see that tzoah, says the Gemara. When it's in front of you, you have to go distance yourself until you no longer can see it. So long as you see the tzoah, it's asu, right? So that's a very complicated question, Rabbi, because we have a 3-way machloket, whether or not closing your eyes or turning your face works, or do you need turning your body? In other words, we spoke before that by erva certainly is hinging on riyah. You remember we mentioned so'ah is mainly dependent on your encampment, your immediate surrounding, and erva is dependent on whether or not you can see it. Now, but even if you could see it, how about if I close my eyes? Arvadia Yosef has a tshuva on this for a poor rabbi that has to be a Masader Kiddushin and is attending a Persian wedding, right? And we have all the, all the Dvarim HaKadoshim, all kinds of erva over there. So it's mutar or not. Actually, this becomes a question, all jokes aside, for a sugya of mechitza as well. In other words, do you have to have mechitza in the shul? So Rabbi Moshe Feinstein famously holds, and this is printed in Igrod Moshe in Chelek Aleph Avorachaim in Siman Nun, as in Siman Lametet and Siman Mem Aleph. Two tshuvot of Igrod Moshe in Chelek Aleph Avorachaim. The main one is really Siman Lametet, the 39th tshuva of the first volume of Igrod Moshe, and he holds very strongly that it's a Isur D'Oraita. It's a biblical prohibition. He proves it from a Gemara in Masechet Sukkah and Daf Nun Aleph, page 51, and he says that it's Isur D'Oraita to daven in a shul that doesn't have a proper mechitza. Now, what's considered proper mechitza? That becomes, of course, a question as well, which we're not going to get into it right now. But let's imagine that the mechitza, according to Rav Moshe, for instance, the mechitza has to be 5.4 foot tall, right? That's how it has to be, according to Rav Moshe. Now, Rav Moshe is matir to have a see-through mechitza. That's his leniency. The Satmar Rav, the Divrei Yoel in Even Ezer Siman Aleph, he has a tshuva on mechitza as well. He says he has to be 6 foot and he has to be bulletproof, right? Has to be can't be see-through. I'm losing my voice. It has to be completely opaque, right? Rav Moshe says no. It's a matter of mechitza. It could be glass. The entire thing could be glass. Now, that is only for the halacha of mechitza, but it's not talking about erva. In other words, that's only for a satmar minyan that everyone is covered properly. But if you have people coming with things that are considered halachically erva, right? Tevach b'isha erva, shuk b'isha erva, all those things, then if you're facing it, if you're back to it, fine, that's one thing. But if you are facing it, then it will become a problem. Now, what about if it's in your side? So that becomes a machloket. Actually, here, Rambam and other Rishonim have a machloket whether or not if the so'ah is not in front of you, but it's on the side, right? And then there's a machloket achronim, Magen Avraham and Chayei Adam, I think it is, of stadim shelefanav, of whether or not directed at a diagonal 45 degrees is considered in front of me because I could see it without turning my head. Or is it considered on my side? So that's, again, gets into nitty-gritties, which we're not going to get into right now. But nevertheless, that is melo enough, says the Gemara. That answers your question, hopefully, right? All the problems you have with what I said in 5 minutes, you could take it up with the beat, right? You caused it. I didn't want to.
If the toilet is like 20 feet away, but it's in front of you, you have the same problem as the so'ah.
We're going to get to it now. So says the Gemara, we have to raise over here. And same is for tefillah. For tefillah also, you have to be not able to see the so'ah or melakai. Says Mara, what? Is that true? Amar Rav bar Papa said, Amar Rav Chisda, in the name of Rav Chisda, Omed Adam keneged bet kiseh u'mitpalel. You could stand in front of a bet kiseh and daven. That's like boom, right? You say that I have to be. I can't be in front of so'ah. Halacha v'bet kiseh is equivalent of so'ah. And Rav Ram says in the name of Rav Chisda that you can stand in front of a bet kiseh so long as it doesn't smell and it's closed and daven, right? Now this becomes very nogea. You go to weddings and even shuls, you have a hallway minyan. Oftentimes people are standing right next to or in front of bathroom and davening, right? Can you do that? Gemara says Gemara. Gemara says no, that's not talking about the bet kiseh. You know what he's talking about? The bet kiseh she'en bo tzoah. It's talking about the bet kiseh that's empty, it's clean. You just had the cleaning crew, they emptied it, they washed it, they shined it, it's clean. No, it smells, there's no tzoah inside. Gemara says what? A bet kiseh that doesn't have tzoah in it is not considered a bet kiseh? Wrong. I prove to you beyond the shadow of a doubt that a bet kiseh that's miyuchad for being used as a bathroom Even if you clean it from now until Mashiach comes, still is considered Bet HaKiseh, right? Says the Gemara, Eni v'hamar Rav Yosef bar Chanina, Rav Yosef bar Chanina said, Bet HaKiseh she'amru, af al pi she'en bo tzoah, even though that you don't have tzoah in the Bet HaKiseh, u Bet HaMerchas she'amru, af al pi she'en bo Adam. When we say Bet HaKiseh, we talk about the Bet HaKiseh that is even clean. And when we say Bet HaMerchas, which we spoke about, a bathhouse, that if it's mutar to think of Torah, to say Torah inside the bathhouse, that's even considered a Bet HaMerchas, even if there's no one naked in it. Because the place is made for people to always be naked inside, is considered a place that you cannot say Divrei Torah. Because the place of bathroom is made for being used for so'ah, even if there's no so'ah inside and it's clean, the shine is still considered a Bet HaKiseh. So the Gemara shot down that suggestion that we're talking about a bathroom that's clean. Clean, no clean, makes no difference. And that's the halacha. Says the Gemara. Ella, but that's not the answer. What's the answer? We're talking about a brand new bathroom. In other words, you built a bathroom, you designated it for bathroom, no one has used it ever. So there's been never excrement, human waste inside this place, but it's a place that's designated and built for bathroom. Is that considered a bathroom? Halachically or not? Says the Gemara. This Gemara, wait a second. How can the Gemara say that this is mutar? Rav Chisda said that it's mutar to stand in front of a bathroom and daven, and you're telling me he's talking about the new bathroom. But we don't know what the halacha is by that. Because the Gemara has struggled with this before, and we have zero maskana. We don't have an answer. Ravina has this question. This is a well-known question in Shas. Says the Gemara. The Ravina asked this very question. If you designated and built a place for bathroom, it was never used before, do we say yesh zimun or en zimun? Is that considered hazmana miltahi or hazmana lav miltahi? Does the designation work to make this a halachot of Bet HaKiseh or not? We spoke before about a bag for tefillin, a box for Sefer Torah, a box for Aron, a bookshelf. When you buy it and build it, if you designate it, well, you haven't used it yet, right? We said in Gufa Kedusha is different, but normally, hazmana lav miltai, that question applies to Bet HaKiseh as well. And the Gemara says, this question, Ravina has asked, and there is no answer, right? Yesh zimun or en zimun, kikami baile, the Gemara says no. The question of Ravina is, is talking in a case that you want to stand inside that room and daven, like literally inside. Say, well, what's wrong? The stall has never been used. The room has never been used. It's a regular room. Just because he decided that this is going to be bathroom, it's going to make it a bathroom. That's the question of Ravina. But to stand outside of it, facing it, Ravina holds his mutar. So therefore, the Gemara now says, when Rav Chisda said that you could stand in front of the bathroom and daven, it's talking about the new bathroom that has never been used. But the regular bathroom, you can't even stand in front of it, melo enough, because he has a din of so'ah. So we're back to our halakha before, that the actual so'ah or a bathroom that's in use, you can't even stand 100 amot away from it. If you see it, you can't daven in front of it, right? That's what the Gemara said, right? Now, says the Gemara, aval kenegdo, lo, but in front of it, no, you cannot do. Amar Rava, Hanibati say the Parsai, this is the favorite Gemara because it praises the Persians, of course. Says Gemara, the bathroom of the Persians, right? After of the itbusa, even if he has so'ah in it, right? In other words, there's two bad things. A is tartar lereuta. A, it's a bathroom, and B, it has actual so'ah inside. Kistumindamu is considered as if it's closed up, and therefore it's mutar to daven in front of it, in front of that bathroom. What does that mean? The Persian bathrooms were, constructed in a way that the hole was 4 amot away and would go 10 tfachim down. The so'ah would never end up staying in the same domain as the room of the bathroom. And the chidush is, if it doesn't smell, and that becomes a machloket rishonim, by the way, if it has a smell or not. The simple understanding is that if it doesn't have a smell, it's mutar to daven in front of it. There are those who say even if he has a smell because it's considered reach ra she'en lo mekor. You remember we had before that if someone passes gas, it's considered, for other people, it's considered reach ra that doesn't have a source, and therefore they could continue learning, right? And there are those who say that like Kisesha Parsai has that halakha as well because there's no source there. The excrement goes away and down and deep and far away, and therefore it's not considered to be an ervat. So it says, well, we're going to stop here. I want to finish the perek, but last Mishnah, we're going to start it and finish it and start the new perek of perek Tfilat Shachar B'ezrat Hashem on Monday. Chazak u'Baruch.